I won't tell you what Steve's been saying all day. So
I think we got a pretty good sense of it.
no.
No, no, you got no idea.
Okay. How do you like this one?
It's pretty good.
Different.
Yeah, you need more light, but that
It's okay.
thanks God.
Yeah, but you know.
Think you've got to learn the words to a Blondie song, and then the whole thing will be perfect.
There you go.
Oh, here we go with another music. Who's the do? What's
Had a
the
heart of glass.
Oh,
Oh.
good reference. Didn't sound
One
like
night,
it.
Sam Donaldson was interviewing Sting, and he goes, "Sting, so do."
Oh, yeah, okay.
Honestly, we all sat around going, "Oh God, please, couldn't we?" Couldn't
What was the song?
Oh, that was the real story.
That was the name of the song. The the da da da. That song.
Is that what that was?
Yeah, that was a real story.
Okay. Oh, I thought you were making
That was
fun of-
back when they were playing in front of like 20 people in Poughkeepsie.
And they weren't killing each
More
other.
likely in Sunderland,
And they were picking their
close
toes.
to where they live.
Oh.
You pick your toes in Poughkeepsie.
So we're about to start the Gillmor gang. For those of you who are finding us, can we do a check on our streaming services? Brent, LinkedIn, maybe.
Let me see.
We are live on X.
We're live on X Twitter. I like to call it X Twitter.
We're
Wow, I
live
hear a
on,
delay going
I'm
on.
hearing my voice somewhere.
A serious delay.
we're live on Facebook.
Live on Facebook.
Okay, the volume down on Facebook, please.
Live. All right, perfect.
Right on.
I cannot
Yeah,
hear.
we're live on LinkedIn, by the way.
Thank you.
What? We can't hear what?
What I just wanted to hear.
Okay. Great. So, and I'm gonna be doing this left-handed so I can keep my dog calm.
Left-handed is the
Happy
best.
with me, but the dog will.
I'm not happy with worrying about the dog. The dog is going to be what the dog is going to be.
Well, he's just in the way. So, okay. Let's see here. Well, let's go to Steve.
This is going to have a
Ooh.
big impact on your
need-
directing,
I
honey.
need you to be just.
No, I'm not doing
No,
that.
There.
Not
please.
doing it. I got a hat now.
No, but you
I like
remember how you say you're not supposed to be in the middle of the screen? Like you're putting yourself in the middle of the screen. I want you more that way.
Yeah,
okay?
I don't want the top of my head cut off, so I'm going to take it back.
Okay, you don't have.
This is where we were 2 weeks ago. Okay,
the Bickersons.
Okay, here we go.
exactly.
Never work with a husband and wife team. It's a rule.
Okay, I won't work with you.
Shooting
Okay, here we
something very
go.
important.
Oh,
My
well,
wife,
remember when Keith used to be on the show
Stop
before he quit?
it. Stop it. Okay.
can you hear me? And is my voice coming through or not?
Yes.
Okay, because I'm using a different sound system here.
Oh, that's
All right.
helpful.
We're it sounds okay. All right. All right. Mute is off, and we're gonna go in 3, 2, 1, and
Hi, this is Gillmor Gang, and I'm Steve Gillmor. Joining us from the state of London, England, a small duchy in the center of the universe, is Frank Radis. Welcome, Frank.
Past the duchy. No, welcome. Thank you. I'm welcome. Good to see you, gangsters.
He thanked him and welcomed him.
Well, you know, if nobody else is going to do it, it's up to him.
It's the duchy.
Yeah,
on the
do you
left hand
remember
side.
that, The Mouse That Roared? Do you remember that film?
Yeah, are you kidding? Peter Sellers?
Yeah. Do you remember that? What came out of that was Hard Day's Night.
oh,
Was a hard day.
Yeah,
on the left
remember
hand
that?
side.
The Mouse That Roared? Do you remember that?
Somebody's,
Turned the volume up.
Audio.
Yeah. Do you remember that?
somebody's watching on a social network.
Hard Day's Night.
all right. Who turned their volume up?
Okay, well, it's gone now.
Sounds like all right. Let's move on.
Okay. From the state of confusion, South Kakalaki, is that what you call it?
Yeah, but he's not in South Kakalaki.
No, that's true.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Could be in
Uh,
LA.
So different from Georgia.
So,
Yeah,
Not
but they don't have the Lakers.
is Brent Leary. Welcome, Brent.
thank you. And when did they
Brent,
start calling the French Open when did they start calling the Roland Garros Championship?
That's where it's played. I think they just started calling it.
Yeah, why? That's weird. I'm used to the French Open, not the
When,
roll. I know they play at Roland Garros, but
when
what's
did
going
they
on here?
start calling
okay,
the Gulf of
this is not the
Mexico
show. This is the pre-show. Okay.
Well, I mean, it is confusing.
This
Still
is
pre-show?
no
getting there.
lower third anymore. It's a lower 20th.
see, it's
Part
showing
of
the
the show.
confusion.
Uh, Joining us from Palo Alto, California, besieged as it is by the National Guard and various protesters, or as we call them, people.
Americans. Well, maybe.
Interested citizens,
That's right.
concerned citizens.
Is Keith Tier. Welcome, Keith.
They're all a bunch of lawbreakers, let's face it.
Okay, good luck with that. Let us know how that turns out.
I just want to get off on the right, winding Brent up.
And last but not least is our producer, director, dog warmer, and whatever needs to get done, she does it. And that's Tina Chase Gillmor. Welcome.
Hello, hello. It's pouring rain here in South Carolina and a lot of thunder and lightning. So let's see if the electricity holds out.
Okay, don't hold him here.
I'm doing
All
the
we're
best I
gonna,
can, Steve.
all no, it's easy. Just take the chair away.
Steve.
On wood.
Okay.
Okay, I'll just put us on mute.
Just don't want.
It is.
Well, that's going to be hard for the curator to mute himself.
Oh, I do it all the time. Trust me. Okay, so somebody else talk because I'm muted.
So what's going on this week, Frank?
I want to say that I actually thought that nothing could supersede the big Trump Musk breakup. I actually thought nothing until I got up this morning and saw what was going on in Los Angeles. And all of a sudden I said, what were we thinking about this show for? What was this? What was so important? Because that just feels to me like a step away from, first of all, calling them insurrectionists. He did not invoke the insurrectionists law. It was another thing like Q9076 or
Oh,
something.
they'll do that later.
Yeah, but they'll then it feels like we're a step away from martial law. It's just insane. It's insane, and it really did. It made me go squirrel from the whole Musk Trump thing. Almost, not quite, but it was up there.
I like that squirrel thing. What does that mean?
Well, from the movie Up, the dog that talked had a collar that allowed him to talk, and every time a squirrel would come by, the dog would squirrel. Stop.
And that was the name of the movie, The Dog That Talked?
The name of the movie was Up, and it was an
What?
animated film.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
And it's one distraction after another, except these distractions are really big. And then there was this latest distraction, which was Terry Moran writing about Steve Miller in what I felt was some pretty accurate descriptions of a guy.
You mean Fly Like the Eagle, Steve Mueller?
Different one.
Okay.
Not that
Steve.
although I did
He's
like
known as
Steve.
Steven, by the way.
I call him Steve. And
I'd call him a cab if I were you.
Yeah, I wish. He said that Terry Moran wrote a post that said that Steve Miller ate his own hate. It was really something. He talked about Steve Miller's sort of being filled with hate, being even worse than Trump, whose hate is transactional, but Steve Miller's is sort of inbred. And the White House apparently went out and talked to ABC and said, you got to do something about this guy right now. And then they suspended him. Okay, This is a guy who, for 17 or 18 years, covered war zones, interviewed everyone that was important,
Who
worked in the
suspended?
White House.
Suspended? Who was suspended?
C News suspended Terry Moran, who was one
Oh
of
yeah,
their
I remember him.
correspondents, because of something he wrote in a tweet about
I got the end of it. I didn't get the
Miller,
beginning.
not Stephen Miller. And that to me, that's a really big story. That's a step away. That goes a step too far for me. And so there's three big things that have happened in the space of the last few days, and and I just I don't know. It's like one big distraction after another, and boy, he's got that playbook down. That White House has that playbook down.
Yeah, but I tried to get you to say that 2 weeks ago, and you wouldn't.
No, well, I did near the end of the show, at least according to what you wrote.
Well, you said something, and I couldn't find it, and the transcript did not reveal it.
It's close, but no cigar.
You hear
Anyway,
that?
there you go. That's what's on everyone's mind right now. Oh, I love that, and also how the Orange guy said that the National Guard had done a great job before they had even deployed.
Mm.
So it just doesn't matter. None of it matters. Doesn't matter.
So, a couple things. One is there's I think it was Hegseth who said, not only are we going to deploy the National Guard, but we might deploy the Marines. So,
Yes.
what in your minds is different about? I mean, obviously, it's the the U.S. military, but what is it? Does that make a difference to everyday Americans? Like, do they see it? Do they see the National Guard and deploying the Marines as a different thing? Does it feel more serious? Does it feel more threatening? And do you think that that's, I mean, I guess it is a possibility, but do you think that that's something that they would really do?
Blue America is afraid. Red America is cheering, and I think that they might actually try and do something like that.
I mean, I think if you put it in the big picture, the protests in LA are quite small. There aren't that many people on the streets. And so it does appear to be a massive overreaction to put the National Guard on the ground, given the nature of it. There was, on TV, there was a lot of normal stuff like young people smashing up ATM machines and things like that, that obviously get the attention. But the big picture, this immigration issue is a political issue. And I'm not hearing any political points. All I'm hearing is anger, mainly by victims or friends of victims. But the Democrats are absent from the stage. Where is the counter argument about the entire policy?
Agreed.
That's a good question. That's a good question.
They are out there. It's just not very, it doesn't seem to rise to a loud level that people can hear. I mean, I've heard people.
Well, that's why, this whole death of democracy discussion is complete crap. Nobody frames this situation on the basis of the so-called death of democracy. They frame it on the economy. Stupid.
Yeah.
Right. So why are we concerned about who this is directed at when it's not directed at any of the people that we have to, as Democrats, what are we supposed to say about this? No, this guy's a convicted criminal. He's the first president to be in office as a convicted criminal. And he's got the Supreme Court, interestingly, somewhat on his side, although some of the rulings that the Supreme Court's been doing recently are very nuanced.
Well, the core of it is funny. On my show, Andrew Keene made the point that there isn't enough land in America for all the immigrants, and that is complete rubbish. America has a declining population, especially young, unskilled people are in decline. And the idea that there are too many people, therefore, is on the face of it wrong.
But
The
who's
economy,
suggesting that? I mean, Andrew Keene?
yeah.
Okay, why?
Wait, I don't understand. Too many people. I missed the.
And Andrew made the point on my show that there appears to be, not enough space for the people, and he attributes that to why people become anti-immigrant, to do with, like we're overflowing. That
Oh,
just isn't true.
no.
We have a declining population. We even have declining immigration, by the way. Net leavers are more than net enterers. And so, so Trump goes to criminality. He doesn't really talk about numbers. He talks about criminality and bringing in crazy people, rapists, killers, which you're always going to get a small percentage of people that fit that description, but for the most part, no. And so you'd think it was a ready-made landscape to actually be able to have a coherent argument in favor of immigration, structured immigration, of course, not just unstructured and chaotic. And no one's making that case. There's no one making the case that we need young, unskilled, as well as skilled workers.
Well, that's not true. Musk has made that case with the HB whatever
Well, this skill.
discussion.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, the whole of Silicon Valley tech believes in skilled. They don't believe in unskilled for the most part.
Yeah. So part of the problem and the fallacy with that argument, not your argument, Keith, but that argument is that I think that the political issue is more about um, money and salaries and wages than it is about geography. And I think that's the big issue. But you know what? There was an awful lot of talk in the last couple of days about the George Clooney show that aired last night on CNN Live, which was basically the story of Edward R. Murrow, who was without doubt a great journalist and represented high-end journalism 70 years ago. And before and after that show last night, because I recorded it and watched much of it, there was so much conversation around the problems that exist with journalism today and what journalists should be doing. And somebody wrote, and I totally agree with this, that rather than talk about what journalists should be doing, journalists should be doing it. Which they aren't. Certainly, you don't get that. The noise level of what's wrong today isn't as loud as the noise level about what's happening today. And I think that that's a real problem with journalism today.
Well, I understand why you focus on that. I mean, you have been a journalist and at the forefront of the birth of some really significant live programming, like the original Nightline and what you did at CNN and on and on. So I understand what your focus is, but whether that translates into um, some sort of remedial attitude about what can be done about this, I'm not sure that you're making the case there.
You're right, Steve. It doesn't translate, and I think that the reason that it doesn't translate is because they're not doing their jobs.
But I think, Frank, in the cold light of day, there's no avoiding the fact that during the 4 years of Biden, the border got out of control. It did. And that has consequences. And it led to a political loss because it was an easy win for Trump to argue that. And they eventually did get it under control, and I think it pretty much remains under control now. And so most of the street level reaction to immigration comes from that Biden era. And you know, the fake videos, by the way, on social media showing immigrants being aggressive towards host people is all over the place. It reminds me almost of Mountainhead, the movie, which was really bad. But the one true thing is there's all this fake video showing immigrants being aggressive towards Americans and or French people in France and so on. So there is this built up belief that immigration is bad. Now, if you can't win that argument, because generally speaking, immigration is good, unless it's culturally displacing. I mean, I can totally understand how huge numbers of people from another place coming to your town and dominating it is displacing. That isn't necessarily a racist instinct when you feel that. It's just preservation of your culture kind of instinct. But the truth is, there really isn't a problem at the base of it with immigration. And somebody should be able to make that case. And not only is there not a problem,
How do you make a case for something not happening as a journalist? That's a tough equation.
well, I don't mean a journalist. I'm more talking about politicians. Journalists more or less observe and report what is going on accurately.
Totally disagree with that. I don't think that's true. I think that journalists are, if anything, suppressing some of the more extreme parts of their view in order to get on the air.
And when they do make their ideas known, Terry Moran, look what happened. You know, I think that's a good example of that. And you know, there you go. That's the story. And that's Steve Miller. I'm Steven. Yeah.
Now he doesn't have the band. It's just Stephen Miller.
The band, yeah, no, that right.
Steve Miller band. I like
Fly
Steve
Like
Miller.
an Eagle. That was that. Remember, Paul
And he's
McCartney was
a joker. He's a joker.
Jet Airliner.
He's a
Paul
soft
McCartney was at the at Abbey Road, or maybe another studio, and had booked some time because uh, the Beatles were in the process of starting to break up, and so the other three didn't show up, and so McCartney went next to the next studio and recorded a song with him with Steve Miller.
Steve, not Steven.
No, not Steven.
Now, there will be no Steve Miller slander here.
So,
Stephen Miller, it's okay.
actually, McCartney just walked out on stage and played with Bruce Springsteen in Liverpool last night. So last night, or was it the night before last? I don't know. And it was something to behold. And those are two people who made their positions really well known. I actually applaud the musicians who have been vocal about their resistance. And you know, a lot of people will say, well, you know, they're just musicians. Well, you know what? They're just people too, and I applaud that. They have large audiences, and they make their positions known. And it feels like I know more about the resistance from people like that than I do from journalists. I'm sorry, I keep going back to that, but it really bugs me.
Well, I don't understand why musicians and other celebrities don't start focusing on how to get people to actually vote for Democrats.
I think that's a good point. I think that somebody like George Clooney, who is, you know, second-rate actor.
Don't hold back there, Frank. Tell us how you really feel.
No. He is absolutely not that. That's just what Mr. Cheeto said. Taco told the world that, and people listen to what Taco has to say. Sometimes they don't listen to what other people have to say.
Taco.
And I think that, you know, that there can be. Look, if you look back at all the people that did support Kamala, for example, that didn't help. It didn't get the vote out. Whether it was Taylor Swift, who has this gigantic army of Swifties, and her ilk, it didn't work. So I don't know what's going to work. Is declaring martial law going to work?
Well, you can't vote for Democrats if they suck. That's the problem.
Yeah,
I mean,
But you
when
can
Musk
vote for
when Musk
Republicans
is
if they suck. That's kind of
What,
funny.
what is
that's
that?
Well,
also
yes,
true.
yes, you're
So
exactly right.
So this
Brent.
yeah, my kids are all they hate on both houses, and they're in their 20s. You know, I mean, it's all three of them are hate on both houses, and there's nothing guttural that gives them an affinity to the
Yeah.
Democrats. So when Musk this week did the vote, you know, who wants a third party? He got a lot of votes, by the way, and 80% said yes. That probably does reflect the real true opinion of most people, even though it's always proven to be an impractical way of thinking. Nonetheless, it's actually what people would like to happen.
You know,
Listen,
I
that's what
wonder,
Karine Jean-Pierre just did it. I mean, you know, she jumped and pissed off on an awful lot of Democrats.
I wonder if that's true though, that people want a different party or if they just want more choice.
I think that's
So
probably.
I think that when they're it's possible that when they're saying they want another party, they're just saying, I just want another person that I can vote for.
You
Yeah.
know, look
I
at what
think
when
that
you look
takes
at
us
the
back to let's get some. I'm sorry, I'm a little loud because I
I
hate
know.
to talk over everyone.
Talk into the microphone, please.
And
I thought you guys were in different cities.
We're planning that soon.
Well,
that.
in a way, Tina, another choice and another party, you might be right, are roughly the same thing. And of course, in reality, it would totally depend what that party stood for. You know, just another party is of zero interest. But if that other party stood for some combination of economic growth and fairer, better distribution to everyone, so it was appealing to poor people and people who want a good economy, then maybe there's something interesting.
Well, look at the 40 or 50 parties that we have here in the UK.
Damn.
I mean, at least it feels that way. You know, and you think that the more parties there are, the more likely it is that those parties take away votes from the two primary parties, which have the most power. Didn't really happen, except here when Labor won. And but you know, in America, if it's just a third party, that actually could be a problem. Unless that third party has some really good ideas, which we haven't heard. Of course, we haven't heard any good ideas from the Democrats either. So
Steve, you're muted.
He's doing that on purpose. And
no, I wasn't worried about it at all until his mouth started going up and down. Then I thought he's trying to say something.
By the way,
There you go.
there's a great Roland Garros. I'm just gonna say French Open. There's a great French Open final going on right now. This is awesome.
I stopped watching at the end of the fourth to join the show, so I don't know what's happened in the finals.
5-5 in the fifth set.
Wow.
wow. Oh man. Okay, well, this has been a good show.
I'll keep you all posted because I
keep us up to date on that. You know,
there you go.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
There's a lot of people there, by the way.
The crowd are completely on Alvarez's side and not on Sinner's side.
But no, Alcaraz broke early in the fifth set, and Sinner just broke back to stop him from winning the championship. And people went crazy. I think people want to see a fifth set tiebreaker,
Amazing.
except for Steve Gillmor, apparently.
who doesn't really want to see anything?
He doesn't want to see it.
So what do you guys think about the there's a piece by Mike Moritz in the Financial Times that I saw this morning, completely supporting Trump in his fight supporting Musk in his fight with Trump, saying there's not even a choice. Musk is right that you need less expensive government and you need growth strategies, and this bill is an abomination, blah 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 blah. And that's another example where the opposition to the big beautiful bill is coming from Trump, not from Senate Democrats.
He's absolutely right. 100%. Problem is how do you support Musk regardless? Whoa, what's going on out there?
I think they're dealing with thunderstorms and the dog, so they're just
Oh, okay.
turning their cameras off whilst they.
Well,
They
so
might
the
have
three
lost
of us,
money.
we look pretty good. I just think that he's absolutely right, but it's so difficult to take either one of those guys seriously. Now, on the other hand, you're still talking about the richest man in the world and the most powerful man in the world. You put the two of them in a room, and what do you get? Explosion. That's what you get, and that's what happened until Los Angeles. And those 14 or 15 people that were on the streets were surrounded by 2,000 members of the National Guard.
Hmm.
Well, my interpretation of Musk is a bit different. I think Trump is a supreme pragmatist. He will blow in the wind depending on the day's agenda, what he thinks best serves him.
Yeah.
Musk believes what he says. So when Musk is saying we're going to have cheaper government, and suddenly Trump is saying no, we're going to spend more money, Musk can't live with that because he's principled, at least. Whether you agree with him or disagree with him, he actually sticks to what he believes in, whereas Trump doesn't. So that was never going to work because Trump was always going to cheat on Musk, always.
Do you think that was the actual genesis of the split?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it had anything to do with what Trump's saying about EV credits. I don't think Musk ever asked for EV credits. In fact, he's always been against them because he has such cheap costs at Tesla.
Where have you seen?
He doesn't need the credits.
But well, then there's the idea that billions of dollars of contracts are going through X and through Musk, and that Trump will stop those contracts. And then it seemed like there was this Musk pulling away, starting to
I don't
to
believe it. I think that's Trump's spin on everything.
Yeah.
I think the only contracts of meaningful contracts that Musk has
SpaceX.
is SpaceX, and SpaceX is required because no one else has the technical capability. So it's not as
Except
if,
the Russians.
well, the Russians are still behind by far, but yes, they can take astronauts up to the space station, but they can't go to the moon or Mars. So Musk is very far ahead. So honestly, I don't believe there's any financial motivation in Musk's head. When you're the richest guy in the world, you could lose all those contracts and still not care.
Yeah.
I think he
Could
actually believes what he believes.
yeah,
He's
but
genuine.
could it be a case where he thought he could control Trump with his money, and Trump wanted the money because he's very transactional to get elected, and now that he's gotten really what he wanted from Musk, he doesn't need him anymore, and he doesn't really want him around because his ego just couldn't take the appearance of Musk getting credit for stuff. He hates
I don't
that.
think it's that, Brent. I think he was so angry at the Democrats for not even inviting Tesla to the EV
Oh,
summit that
I totally agree with you.
he's
I'm talking
so
about
angry that he invested in Trump not to control him, but to say F you to the Democrats.
maybe that was the original thought, but as we see, he was basically getting yelled at from all of the MAGA folks and the Trump folks because they knew he wasn't a true MAGA person.
So so much of this, reminds me of the discussions about Twitter, which were all wrong, by the way.
What discussions? I can't even remember.
That he made a big mistake and he was forced into the sale and he's lost $22 billion or whatever. Bullshit.
Well, he did, but
No, he didn't. He's got the largest social network in the political space now.
I don't
Look,
know what that gets
I
him.
do think you have to
Twitter's been hurt.
get rid of any conspiracy around Musk. What you see is what you get. He is a massive liability, let's be honest, because what you see is a person who has abstract thoughts and principles that are largely pro-capitalist, and that can go in a lot of different directions. But he's not a Trump-style pragmatist at all. And when you put a pragmatist in the room with a zealot, the zealot's going to eventually be betrayed because Trump can't stick to a line.
Yeah, but Trump has a bunch of zealots around him, and your boy Musk wasn't. He was. I think you're right. I think he believes in what he believes, and I think one of the things he believes in is he's pretty much the smartest person around.
Yeah,
Sometimes that's true, and sometimes when you are the smartest person around, you're not the smartest person on everything. And
yeah,
I think he believes he was because he's been so successful. He's probably like, how could I not be successful doing this when I've done so many things? And he came up against the wrong dude.
yeah. But even then, I think if you analyze him, and I'm trying really hard not to sound like a Musk fanboy here because I have my criticisms
Don't
of
worry
him.
about that, Keith.
You're
It's all
But
failing.
but if you look at his businesses, he what he does is he puts together very, very, very strong teams that can execute and then gets himself out of it. He's above kind of setting direction, but he's not day-to-day operational. So he has a plan, he has an end game, and then he puts people into it. Trump doesn't do that. Trump's end game is 24 hours long.
Don't you also think that there's a case to be made that the country is not a business, and putting people in the highest ranks of the government who are business people may not be the answer.
What about not only the business people, but their television commentators for crying out loud?
Yeah.
No, I think that's the government is not a business is a great talking point. Maybe it should be is another talking point.
Maybe it shouldn't. Maybe
Uh,
it won't be.
Yeah.
And
oh,
why are
oh,
we talking about it?
well, to put it another way, why is the big beautiful bill probably in some form or another going to pass? It's because the government is like an iceberg. The people you elect to the Senate and the House and the presidency are the top of the iceberg, but there's literally millions of people down below who are a massive friction to any change. They have a huge self-interest in the status quo. Some of them are career bureaucrats, not to use that pejoratively. It's their job, and a permanent civil service, if you will. And what happens is anyone who goes to DC, Obama included, gets their ass handed to them insofar as they try to make significant change. And so it spits out idealists every 4 years who get defeated. So the government
You think
really,
that the Obama, the ACA, you think that was a failure?
well, compared to Obama's vision, safer
No,
health,
no, 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 no. Do you think that that's a failure? Yes or no?
Obama's presidency,
No, the Affordable Care Act.
I think it's a relative failure compared to the goals. Yes. I
Okay.
still think it's better
I
than, I do think it's better than what, it's better
using
than
the
what
caveat of compared to the goals. You don't know what the goals were. You
they
don't know what
said them
was
out
actually
loud.
said. You don't know what was said inside. You don't know how long they nurtured Teddy Kennedy to keep him alive so that they could get that vote. There were a lot of people who spent a lot of time, and what they said publicly about it and what actually happened had more to do with what FDR did with the New Deal, which is, basically hook people on the idea of services
Right. So
as
we,
a country.
well,
So I say that when you say that Obama was chewed up and spit out, I don't agree with you.
so I have a friend right now who is in his 50s, who's about, he thinks he's going to lose his job, and his job gives him health coverage. And he thinks he's going to struggle. And his health coverage covers his divorced wife and their two kids.
Wow.
He has no clue how he's going to do health coverage if he loses his job. No clue, because Cobra costs too much. So we are not in any kind of a paradise here. And the real truth is human beings should have free healthcare. Free. That's true,
So
right?
you're jumping from a political belief on your part to an assessment of a political act, which has resulted in
A
something
compromise.
that the no, it's resulted in something that the Republicans have been fighting tooth and nail to destroy for the last 8 years. So
Well, I
just
think
look at the people that aren't happy about it, if you want to see what the effectiveness of it is.
Your
Steve,
friend is going to have to use the ACA.
but I agree with what, yeah, but he doesn't have what is effectively over $1,000 a month to pay for that. I was going to say, Steve, I don't disagree with you. I think everything you're saying is true. So let me not be misunderstood here. Everything you're saying is true, but two things can be true at the same time. It can be true that everything is better than it was before, and it can also be true that single payer, which was widely discussed at the time, never happened.
Right. And it was most people, including me, never thought it would be happening. The
I
ACA is what happened, not
Yeah.
single payer.
So all I'm doing is going to the root reason of
But
why.
you've already stated that, in your opinion, that single payer or something like it is an important thing that every industrial, company
Modern country, yeah.
on Earth supports except us. Every country except us does not support having a nuclear deterrent against war that's kept us from a nuclear war for, I don't know, 80 years now.
I'm,
You
I'm,
know,
I,
it's clear that there was a position that, as far as insurance is concerned, that we don't need the ACA because employers will cover it. But in fact, the number of employers who actually offer healthcare nowadays has just dwindled down to almost nothing. And even if there is some employee involvement with healthcare, you still have to contribute more to it than you might have in the past. So that's just simply not true. And the fact that the ACA is there is certainly a lot better than a sharp stick in the eye.
It would be nice if we treated healthcare as a human right and gave it to everybody. But there are some there's a lot of opposition to that, and I'll tell you what it's called. It's called the Republican Party.
Absolutely, that's what Ian just said.
Apparently,
Let me tell you that if it hadn't been for for the NHS, in my case, I might not be sitting here talking to you right now.
mhm.
And it was a godsend for me, and it was really incredible. It was absolutely everything that everybody says the NHS isn't. Those are the people who haven't needed it.
Mm.
And
but
I find people like Josh Hawley, who I consider to be rep just an awful person. Uh, what he has been saying about the big beautiful bill is very, very nuanced and very smart, and he's developing. It probably won't be him who leads it, but he's developing a sort of a guiding corner on the so-called 80% in the middle. So,
Well,
there's
clearly he read the bill, unlike Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is also now against it. So that's
Oh, Frank, she only didn't read 2 pages.
okay.
well, so
the
I don't know.
introduction and the conclusion.
So, bottom line, I'd like to sort of shift just a little bit to Apple. Uh,
Just a little.
it's
Just a little bit.
a very small shift.
No,
Okay.
let's go.
Oh, I'm done.
No, let's shift
I
to
can't do
Apple.
it. Oh,
No,
oh, is that
no,
okay?
we can shift to Apple, but it's a big shift, not a little shift.
Why would you say that?
Don't
Well,
answer. Don't answer, Tina. He's winding you up.
He is.
No, we
And
watched the Winding Up show. I've become a huge fan, in spite of every fiber of my being, of Morning Joe. Morning Joe now is seems to be a genius. He somehow figured out how to never be there and still get paid.
That's funny. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
We were saying the same thing this morning.
Where is
Like,
Morning Joe? You know, and
where's
I think his
Joe?
wife is incredibly, I mean, she's got as many smarts as her father did, which was, basically the national security advisor for the entire Democratic agenda.
As long as Joe's not there, you at least get to hear her.
How
Yeah,
did we get from Apple to Morning Joe there just then?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Oh,
it was
was I
because
successful at that?
You were good. That was good. That was
Okay,
real
so
good.
here's the thing about Apple is I've got this thing going now with I wait until the last possible second that I can actually post the show, the last one that we did, which in this case was 2 weeks ago, and then I just basically I have nothing to say, so I just write that I have nothing to say, and this is what time it is the post. But
And that's why you went after me?
well, no, it was a loving portrayal
It was, yes.
of your
I'm
bravery
yeah.
and standing up for a completely impossible position.
I like the
Against all
title.
odds.
I like the title of it. It was a great
Yeah,
title.
me too. Yeah. I
yeah,
agree.
I figured you'd like that, Brent. That's the first thing I said. I said Brent will like it.
Now, the question I have is, there's the conventional wisdom is that Trump is going to win this battle.
Which battle?
The one that we've been talking about for an hour.
Oh, have
I
we
thought we were
finished
with
with
Apple
Apple
versus
already?
Trump or something. I didn't
No,
know.
no, this is how I merged the two into a
Oh,
single.
this is your segue.
Yeah.
Just watch how it works.
Smooth.
Okay, I'm gonna watch.
Learn from the master, please. Okay, so I'll repeat myself. Trump is going to win this argument
What argument?
uh, with Musk.
Oh,
The Musk question is, can I, with my paltry billions, which have already fallen by 30%, because Trump has his handle on the market,
yeah.
uh,
I'll take the loss.
will I be able to influence either the midterms or whatever, this kind of murky? I mean, he basically says it's 3.5 years you got Trump and I got 40.
Okay. Well, let's talk about it. All right. So, we've got Trump, who's got MAGA still pretty strongly behind him. Maybe there's a little fall off or a little worry here and there that are coming out to some town hall
Oh,
meeting.
wow.
What happened?
But the American people do not like Musk either.
No, that's
So
not true.
yeah, no, it is.
Keith does. He just says
He's agreeing with me. Look at Brent. He agrees, right,
I
Brent?
think Democrats don't like Musk, but I think Silicon Valley loves him.
Yeah, the tech bros love him.
But this is Silicon Valley.
Yeah, both of those guys.
Yeah, but does Silicon Valley add up to anything politically? Is the question.
I think
Question.
Silicon Valley represents the younger generations better than either political party.
I disagree. I think it highlights the similarity between the generations.
Well, look, most younger people are into their iPhone, they're into their AI. They think it's complete BS to not allow AI in universities and schools. They're pretty progressive.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I'm like 120 years old.
Yeah, I do too, but we're unusual old people.
No, we're not.
I like that.
So-
That could be a name for a good
I'm gonna-
podcast, the Unusual Old People podcast. That'd be good.
Yeah, starring the venerable, retired population of the formerly known as the media.
When you look
The
at
gold one.
by the way, when you look at the figureheads, there's no way Mark Andreessen could ever be popular with young people. Musk can. There's something about Musk's off the cuff, shoot from
Look,
the hip.
I know you just yearn to discuss your big bro, but I'm still trying to get back to my point, which is
Okay.
that there's a consensus in the conventional wisdom department that Trump is going to win this argument.
Hmm.
Okay. There's a conventional wisdom department about Apple that they are losing the AI war. I
Yeah.
think that's wrong.
You could say they're losing. It doesn't mean they've lost it, but they're definitely not leading the pack in this. Nobody's looking at Apple right now as the leader in AI.
Well, in my editorial, as Keith calls them, basically what I'm saying is nobody's taken my iPhone away from me, including Apple.
It's right.
I'm going to wait until Apple comes up with enough additional value for me to re-up on Apple. I'm not going to buy an Android.
Steve.
Yeah,
Here,
but when that Apple phone costs you $3,500 because of the
I'll
tariffs,
then
I'll
it'll
be.
be called a Vision Plus or
I
whatever it's called.
get a straight good answer out of Siri. They are not in people's minds
No.
leading.
And
That
what
they're just
company have you gotten a good answer? Hallucination Incorporated?
I got a good answers all the time from Perplexity.
yeah, Chat
Oh,
GPT, lots of good stuff.
Yeah, Claude is
oh,
But
come
actually
on.
really doing good too.
the biggest thing,
ChatGPT
the
lots
biggest
of
thing.
good
better than
stuff.
Siri. Uh-huh.
So just for those trying to catch up here, Apple tomorrow has its Worldwide Developer Conference, which is historically when it's going to launch its new operating systems across all its devices, and sometimes it also launches some new hardware.
Isn't it like a phone? Do they launch
They
phones?
make phones, yeah. That's
No,
So
the
did it
phone is September.
September? Okay.
So, so this Apple thing, but funny enough, I think the most interesting Apple thing this week was this research paper they put out saying that AI can't really reason. It's all over Tech Meme this morning, which is highly accurate, by the way.
Yeah,
It's probably the best assessment of AI that is free of BS.
and it's a very self-serving one coming from Apple too.
Very self-serving, but
as it should be.
but it also misses the point,
That's right.
which is AI doesn't have to reason to be awesome. So they're
Exactly.
right. They're right. It doesn't reason.
No, but
But
it does have to actually do something
Oh,
eventually.
it does.
Oh, it
It
does
does
stuff.
stuff.
Yeah, it does.
yeah,
It does.
Vaguely, vaguely. The only thing that it really does so far that has been useful, and it's mostly for startups, is meme coding. That's about it.
Wait a minute, Roland Garros,
no, it can
the
do more than
championship.
that. Like
Alcaraz just won.
Alcaraz just won. He looked like he was going to win from the end of the fourth set onwards. Actually, to be fair.
Yeah, he came back from the dead though. Anyway.
But the what I was going to say is this week it was my kid's graduation. It got me thinking about me. And
Congratulations, by the way.
I thought about, I've always thought I should write a book of the different stages of my life. And OpenAI this week launched a new voice recognition model. And it lets you on your phone, put on the microphone and just talk to it. And so I started talking to it saying, okay, you're the author of my 3 or 4 volume biography. Here's what I want you to do. And it could talk back to me, and then it could write chapters based on facts and ask me questions to supplement the facts. It's way beyond vibe coding. It can do so many things.
No, I'm not talking about comparing what you just talked about and vibe coding. Vibe coding is actually a business that's being used by a lot of tech companies.
Yep, me too.
Yeah, I understand. That's about it.
No, that's not about it.
I haven't seen. Look, Keith, you gave me the Cook's tour of all this stuff over a month and a half, and before I realized that I wasn't ever going to get you to do what I wanted to do, I realized that it's not your fault. It's this technology has serious problems with reality. It
Well,
does not. It is not
Frank,
simple.
you're muted.
It's not simple to use, and it's not. Uh, there's not a there except as an economic model for
Oh,
the tech industry to be able to survive.
yeah. Tell that to the people in the content creation community and in the
Yeah, I don't.
creative community. And
I think that's a rounding error. I know that you think that that's important, and I certainly think there's some interesting questions about it. But I think creating artificial videos is not an industry like the invention and the promulgation, or whatever the word is,
You know,
of
you're right, but
RSS. RSS
it's a
was far more important than
it,
what's going on with the AI community right now.
it's a rounding error when you talk about those people who are actually using it. It's not a rounding error when you talk about the people that are receiving it. And I think that that's where the size is.
I don't buy it. Sorry.
Stanford University this week put out suggestions to how to use AI in your as an undergraduate, and it was 5 bullet points, and all of them envisage the fact that a student will do better if they use AI as a real-time tutor to look at their writing. And Andrew Keene did this to me this week. I banged off an editorial on Friday in about, I don't know, half an hour. And it wasn't that great, to be honest. It had my main points in, but it wasn't that great. He didn't like it. He played the role of editor and he put it through Claude in his case. And he sent it back to me saying, he's a better version of the editorial. And at first I was kind of a bit affronted. And then I read it and it had retained all of my main points, but made the case for them way better than I had. And so I used it, actually. I ended up using it.
I have had not exactly the same result, but very similar results, Keith. But I would write it and then put it through there and then look at it and go, that's better.
Yeah, and so I do think it's gonna. I use the analogy of dripping water. Like if you get a leak upstairs, and eventually get a puddle downstairs. Well, AI is leaking into every part of life, little by little, and it's going to be everywhere. It's going to be in everything.
I totally agree with you, but as to whether or not AI actually works, I don't agree with you.
Well, works is we can agree on it.
It has
correct.
Well, that's my
ubiquitous now. It's like, oh, I misspelled that
There
word.
are a number.
Now it's better.
There
Now
are a
it's
number
right.
of invasions of AI into hardware and into products that are really, really interesting and really fascinating and will be successful. But as how it's being sold by people who are trying to make money with it is way behind the curve.
Well, I would agree with that. Yeah.
So let's just break that up. It doesn't work on the face of it as a true statement that I don't disagree with.
Okay, good. We're done.
But it partly relates to what the goal is.
Let me just
if you want it to be a fact machine, it doesn't work. If you want it to be a thought partner, it totally works.
I don't buy it. I don't buy it.
You're
being a thought partner, if you want a thought partner of everything that has been published and cleared for training purposes by publishers, okay.
This makes me think of the white paper that the Health and Human Services guy put out that had like 3 or 4 studies in it that were never happened. And the White House looked at it and said, well, that's just a clerical error. We're going to go back and work on that. It wasn't a clerical error. It was down and out wrong.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, it's a statistical word guessing machine. That's what it is. So clearly, it isn't going to be an authority on every subject. And secondly, it's been programmed that when it doesn't know the answer, it makes it up. That's the programming, not the AI. And so
that I don't buy that statement at all.
Yeah, isn't the programming the AI? The bottom.
No, because the AI is a statistical engine. The programming is what surrounds it in terms of logic.
Well, the atom bomb was a really good idea. The fact that it's been misused. I mean, come on.
Well, thanks a lot, Oppenheimer.
I just think that if you only have a discussion that says what's wrong, or you only have a discussion that says what's good,
I hear is
both wrong
about what's right. I'm just trying to throw a little ripple into the pond.
I'm the opposite. I'm only reading all the stuff, the cynics who say what's wrong.
Well, you say that in your newsletter, but you're very careful about which pieces that you don't agree with you publish.
I look at both, and
Probably.
I usually decide that I like what's right more than I like what's wrong.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's it's a very good debating point. Uh, but as it relates to ultimate insight and truth, it's got its plus side and it's got a major minus side, which the Republicans, among others, have doubled down on to just basically destroy the idea that there's anything factual on the internet ever.
Well,
Just
that's
destroy the connection between the information and its credibility and its reliability.
if you were
They've done a
to
good job on that.
if you replace the word internet with the word humanity and ask the question, is humanity right or wrong? The answer is both, because people have all kinds of points of view that disagree with each other and even have different understanding of what the facts are. And so the human race is flawed, massively flawed. There's no such thing as the perfect intellect enshrined within a single person that's always correct. So all you're doing is you're training these AIs on top of human knowledge. And by definition, it's going to learn everything that we represent. And we represent flawed knowledge. We do. And so it's impossible for AI to distinguish between true statements and bad statements. If its training's got both in, it's going to learn on both. And so the real problem here isn't AI. It's not even a problem, I don't think. The real fact is that human culture is flawed when it comes to truth. The word truth almost shouldn't be used. It's just opinions and facts. Those exist.
That's a great point. So we're living in this age where facts sometimes don't matter, or facts can completely be manipulated and people don't care.
Yeah.
So the AI will follow that.
And by the way, that's always been true. I don't think there's any.
Then.
Yeah, the AI doesn't follow. What the AI does is it weights. So let's say 90% of everything on a topic was correct. It would be 90% correct because it would weight in its statistical model, it would weight that 90%.
Yeah, but as they say about advertising, you have no idea which 90% is fact.
Right. So, I mean, you may go
Correct.
a certain sentence or a certain
But bear in mind, no, but go back 2 years and you couldn't even, there was no such thing as AI and you couldn't capture that 90% at all, or the 10%. So,
yeah. That's true. But, the reason I like Perplexity is because they have sources.
So does OpenAI. OpenAI does.
Of course they do. OpenAI is going to do everything.
This is why I think that everything that I write is really good and true. So when I put it through AI, it comes back to me being more right and more true. And better.
Well, that's the
better is a value judgment.
Well, true.
If you had an AI that could say, this, I don't know anything about this document except that it's 73% true.
Well, so that technically speaking, that's the next stage. It's called
massive censorship, and it's impossible.
Retrieval, there's a thing called retrieval augmented generation, RAG, and RAG is, for example, OpenAI just allowed you to link to your Google Drive and all your documents, and now you can ask it to give answers to questions that are only in those documents. So what's going to happen with AI? It's going to become personalized to your chosen documents, which means every individual will have their own AI that's learned on them and their content. And the idea of one ubiquitous AI that is the truth just goes away.
I can't wait for that.
You're arguing against a point that I haven't made. So
I wasn't even trying to argue. I'm just adding a piece of knowledge to it.
Okay, well, I've read about RAG and I understand what you're saying, but that doesn't mean that there's not I would say that there's a stronger possibility of AI being used to detect the presence of AI and therefore, you know, disintermediate at a certain level, which will then be countered by more sophisticated AI and back and forth. But there's always going to be a level of, it's like, we were talking about this earlier, and this is completely off the subject, but, you know, I can say about my brother or my friend, I can say all sorts of shit. But if you say it about him, I'm going to punch you in the mouth, right? And to me, if AI tells me that I'm full of shit, I'm going to get another AI.
When my wife gets mad with me, she criticizes my mum, and that's when I lose it.
There you go. There you go.
Mothers were off limits, weren't they?
No,
Jeez.
but her family grew up to be vicious arguers.
So, what about this argument that is being
Better
promulgated
not listen to moms.
uh, about the problem that we're now facing, which is that every state can have its own opinion about AI
That's
legally? How do you think that's going to go?
Yeah.
It's interesting that Trump has made that impossible for California. I mean, that's a good instinct that he did that. I don't know if it's his instinct. It's probably David
Frank?
Sachs.
Frank's doing sign language with us now.
What?
But he's muted. Does he realize he's muted?
His hands aren't muted.
I do, and my hand didn't. The hands didn't matter. That was me doing Trump, and it was just based on
Oh,
what you just said, Steve. It's divisive.
Well,
what
it
is?
might be like
If
the
all of the states
laws.
have their opinion,
it's
it's divisive.
the train
I
wreck.
totally agree.
It's
It's also unworkable and won't work.
No, I agree.
it's like
But
the marijuana
it
laws.
will
You've got-
cause enough friction that it in that. Sorry, Tina. It's really weird why we're all doing. It will cause enough friction to work. Not in that it will actually work.
What?
It
What?
won't work.
What?
It won't work.
Okay,
It won't
I heard
work.
that
Case
part.
closed.
Okay, and
But
now you're trying
it,
to say this other sentence, which is it'll
but
cause
it will
friction
create
to
so
work.
much division and friction that in some way it will work. Not for individuals or for the states, or it'll work for Taco.
But the feds are against giving. It's interesting to contrast with women's rights. With women's rights, it's all go for it at the state level. With AI, they're saying no. This is only a federal issue, and we're going to ban restrictions for the next 10 years because and they have this concept of winning the AI war with China, which, when you think about it, is a completely ridiculous idea that there's one winner in an AI war, like 100 meters race or something. Everyone's going to be raised up by it and down in proportion to how bad it is, but up in proportion to how good it is. And there's no such thing as a one winner. It's nuts to think there'll be one winner.
Well, as long as AI continues to eat itself.
Look at Ukraine's drones.
Well, I'm a Yankee fan, so basically, if they win the World Series, that's right.
Can we please talk about the Ukraine's drone attack? Wow.
Well, that was mini AI right there. It had a computer vision model capable of recognizing a certain type of airplane, and it was a kamikaze drone with a bomb attached to it that glommed into the thing it recognized as the airplane it was looking for, and it had remote software to allow it to take off when it was in the right GPS coordinates. So it probably had a GPS chip. It probably had a gyro, so it could fly straight, and it had computer vision, so it could recognize the target.
It was another card for him to play that nobody knew he had.
Yeah, man, it was pretty spectacular.
I just thought it was bizarre that that Taco said that he had a conversation with Putin and Putin said he was going to retaliate, when in fact retaliation is just another word in this case for war, which is what they're already doing.
Yeah.
Of course, he's going to retaliate. It's what happens in a war. You shoot me, I'll shoot you. For God's sakes, he didn't talk to Putin. Putin never said that. I believe that. Why would he say that? That's stupid. We're going to retaliate. No, you're not. You're just going to continue the war.
But and just to end this part of the conversation about that attack, not only did it have great technology, but they were able to get the equipment inside of Russia. They had to do that. That had to have been kind of tricky, I would imagine, because they got to targets that were really pretty far away.
So I don't know if this is true, but they say the truck driver did not know what he had in the truck.
No, he didn't. He
Or
was
the
just
trucks.
hired to do a job.
Yeah.
And by the way, the batteries on those drones are not
I
very
think
good.
this sounds like it was written by OpenGPT.
I would say that that's probably very true. They probably did not want him at all to know what it was, so they were protecting.
Do you really think that?
Protecting the mission?
Do you really think that we? Do you really think that we have been told accurate information about how that worked and
No.
what went on there? No, I don't.
But more so than I think we would have expected. Honestly, I think that it was really it almost felt like he Zelensky wanted to make sure that people knew as much as he was willing to let them know, which seemed like an awful lot. One wonders how much of it was true. But regardless, it just sounded like it was a great story. It was James Bond, baby.
Yeah, and let's be real. The masterminds of war are using this as an example for their next attacks. And we're in a different day and age for war.
The critics of the Pentagon got the biggest win, because the critics of the Pentagon make the case that the Pentagon is spending money on World War II version 2. Battleships, destroyers, airplanes, massively expensive, huge pieces of equipment, huge armies, human beings. When the future of war is remote, robotic, small, highly targeted,
Yeah.
and less expensive, by the way, way less expensive.
So I don't know the answer to the question I'm about to ask. So I'm looking for your help on this. But what does that do to y'all? What does it do to the Iron Dome? I mean, not the Iron Dome, the Golden Dome concept.
I hate
the dome only works if you're flying missiles in from the outside.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're driving drones in from the inside, they're useless.
Right.
It's a waste. It's going to be another big, huge waste of money.
Right. There we go.
And by the way, you could drop 500,000 drones from an airplane instead of parachutists, and they also would get through because they're too small to detect.
Radar is not going to pick them up. Like
they're too small. Yeah, especially if there's lots of them.
Yeah.
Okay, so have I made my point about Apple?
Absolutely. What was your point?
We have to wait for Apple to invent AI before it happens.
Nope.
See what they say tomorrow. Maybe.
Nobody's waiting for them. Are you kidding me?
Well, I actually, kidding, they're in good company.
That is how I feel about it.
Yeah, but nobody's waiting for anybody. Nobody's waiting for any company or who. It's whoever gets there first.
Whatever happened to that China company that made all that noise?
Oh, DeepSeek?
Still there.
Still there.
I know. I'm not saying it is still there, but it seems
they launched a new version 2 weeks ago that went to #1 in terms of quality.
What was it, like 700 million or billion parameters or something like that?
Yeah, a lot anyway. But you've made me lost my track now. I was going to say something, but I've forgotten it.
Well, Apple's always going to be one you have to look at just because of the sheer numbers and people having so many Apple devices in their hand or on their desktop, or
Yeah.
so they're there, but they're not leaders. I mean,
No.
they're not even
They-
Kind of like
close.
look,
Musk.
Apple.
Musk is not a leader except in SpaceX. Tesla's not, and that satellite linking thing for Wi-Fi. But it's Musk, and you got to always look at what
Right,
Musk is doing. It feels the same as Apple. You got to always look at what Apple is doing.
right.
If you look on YouTube at what Jan LeCun, who's he's the chief scientist at Facebook, French, look at what he's saying. He's a pro AI guy that is dominated by the limits of LLMs. So most of what he talks about is how limited LLMs are. And he's pro LLM. He just recognizes there's only a certain way they can go. And so he's focused on how do you get to AGI is not through LLMs. LLMs will get you really clever, intelligent, job replacing software for sure, but it won't be AGI. And so Apple's in good company. When it wrote this piece, a lot of leading thinkers agree with it. But unlike LeCun, Apple doesn't have a roadmap to get there. His roadmap is 10 to 15 years. So it's like no time soon. But I almost think it's irrelevant because I think the LLMs are so good when they're good and will be capable, especially as they get tied into databases and probabilistic sources of knowledge. They're so good that the difference between them and AGI might be a semantic point.
Well, I would agree with that, but I think that it's like going to the dog racing, the dog track, where there's this wire that reaches out over the driver and the dog and dangles the whatever it is.
Rabbit, the rabbit.
Yeah. You never get to the rabbit. You never get there.
Yeah, that might well be true, but I actually don't think it matters. I think
That would be
especially
convenient given if as long as the economy doesn't crater, right?
well that the economy, if you define the economy as labor and capital, it is going to crater because less and less capital is going to be needed and less labor is going to be needed. And so the economy
So
as we know
Anthropic, the CEO of Anthropic is right or wrong?
totally right, maybe not on timing, but right in general.
And so anybody who disagrees with him is totally wrong.
I wouldn't ever say totally, but there's a lot
Mostly
of
wrong.
there's a lot of space in the argument about job replacement for differences of opinion because no one really knows the timing. But he focused on entry-level white-collar jobs. That feels right to me. The entry-level white-collar jobs, which is about 20%, he said, will shrink.
Well, but there are people like Mark Andreessen who suggest that that will shrink, but things will grow that will net become more than where we are right now.
Yeah. Logically, I
I would
can't.
agree with that.
Well, historically, innovation has always led to a better division of labor, and a better division of labor is another word for more jobs. So historically, that's true. It is possible that AI represents the end of that cycle where new jobs are done by other AIs. That in other words, it's so good that there are new jobs, but AIs can do the new jobs as well.
And AI will be so pissed off that other AIs have taken their jobs.
We're going to have border controls on AIs.
And it just made me think that, the horizon is that line in the distance that you can see, but you can never reach.
So you remember in 1999 or whenever it was when the state of the art was, yeah, nice try.
Prince,
The state of the art was the flip phone.
I love that. And it's coming back.
Motorola.
Yeah, it's coming back.
Whatever. And
like
the
Joe
idea of
Bottom
being able
pants.
to today I was trying to get my laptop to fire off, and there's this ID, finger ID or whatever they call it, in the upper right-hand corner of this laptop.
Yep.
And I realized I couldn't remember whether it was my thumb or my finger, of course. This is the big problem, is me. But I noticed that accidentally while I hovered over it that I was about this far off of the damn thing when it worked. So, uh, what is the value proposition of automation, and at what point does it run into the laws of bullshit marketing and entertainment?
Well, when you think about it, digital means that's the digit.
Or not.
So I think there's going to be there will never be enough marketing jobs to kill off this economy.
Except the economy is killing off the marketing jobs.
I'd like to
Is
put
it?
a question.
It is, yeah. There's a tremendous number of marketing people out there who are looking for work and can't get it
Yeah.
because the companies are cutting back. It's funny. It's part of that cycle because the argument comes out as to whether or not the marketing has an ROI. Marketing is pretty tough to point a finger at what the ROI is to your marketing, other than to say, well, look, the business is doing great. It's because of the marketing. No, it's not. It's because the product is really good. In any case, it's that time of the year when corporations are looking to save money, and usually where do they spend the most of their money? In marketing.
I'd like to ask you all a question. I think from this discussion about AI, and for me personally, it is not at all hard to imagine that given some progress with AI, which should be fairly rapid, that there will be a good amount of job loss. Okay, copywriters, graphic artists, I can think of a lot of people in careers that would be disintermediated. So let's say that's true. Let's say that's going to happen. What should human beings, or at least in our society, what should we be concentrating on as human beings if so many of the careers that we have been spending our time developing talents, developing processes and everything, where should we start to pinpoint our energies in our brain?
I think it
Okay, and
depends
this
on
will be
timing.
everybody can weigh in on this. You can choose to use only AI or no AI in your answer. Go ahead, Keith.
So I was going to say it depends on your time range. I think in the short term, any job where the person embraces AI as a tool in their job, that person will keep their job more than somebody who doesn't. Because I think the next step is human AI collaboration on tasks. And bit by bit, a single human will be able to have lots of AIs, each performing different tasks, and manage the AIs, the outcomes and everything. So the skill will be how good you are at using AIs in any job, almost any job.
So you're talking about human beings actually becoming way more productive or successful at their talents because of AI,
Correct.
of
Correct.
the blending of
Correct.
AI.
That's the first stage.
Okay.
But little by little, these AI agents will become autonomous of the human that initially directed them. They'll get better and better. And so the number of AIs a single human can manage will grow proportionate to how autonomous they are. And the human ultimately will be out of the loop in the long term. And now that to me is the history of progress, is the history of a shrinking working day. If you were to measure human progress, the shrinking of the working day, which was fought for and people died fighting for it, has always been a goal. And so if you can shrink that to zero, we should all think that's good, unless it means you're poor and die.
Well,
So it becomes a social question, not
that
an
would,
economic.
exactly. It would
Yeah, and that therefore you must have the ACA.
Okay, so this is your answer, Frank. You're going to stick with that, or do you have an actual comment?
No, I actually agree with what Keith said.
Brent, what do you think?
What was the question again?
Okay.
Who won Roland Garros, or is that what we're calling it?
I'm calling it the French Open.
Okay.
You know, I'm too
It'll
old for that.
always be-
I'm
Okay.
still saying Twitter too, by the way. Twitter
Yeah.
and French Open. There you go.
All right.
I'm so angry though that
Yeah, you're
people
right.
are equating Truth Social with Twitter by saying that these two guys are going after each other on their giant platforms. They are not two giant platforms. There is one giant platform. The other one is
Can anybody name any other person writing, what do they call them? Read truths or truth? I don't know. Excrements? I don't know what to call. There's only one person we know of
that
that
a joke?
uses that thing. No.
yeah, or it's an AI. Let's not forget. There's
Yeah,
probably some
no,
AI involved.
nobody else is doing anything on that thing. So why do we even? What's the question again?
Yeah, but the point, you're exactly right. Why are we equating that? There is no equate. There is no equilibrium at all.
Hey, Brent, in the chat, not the chat of the Zoom, but the messages chat, I just put a Zapier's hiring grid about what it wants an engineer to do vis-a-vis AI and a marketer and everything else. I know you can show things in your ATEM, but I can't. But it's really interesting to look at how they think about AI from the point of view who to hire.
Let me see if I can. Yeah, let me see if I can do this. Okay, then put it on the screen here.
Put it up, but it'll be really tiny type.
No,
Just
it won't,
saying.
because Tina can make it full screen.
Yeah, you could. All right, so here is what you just sent me.
Okay, put it up, Tina, and let's all stop and read it.
No, it's too much. It's probably too much to read, but
Just
Little
kidding.
hard to read.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have my AI read it later, and then we'll figure it out.
Okay.
If you
Just
put, yeah,
copy
make
it and
mine.
paste it into Chat GPT and say, "Explain this to me, will you, Lucy?"
so basically, the short version is the final column called transformative is the only one where they'll hire. If you find it unacceptable, or you're capable at it, or you're adopting it, you don't get hired. It's only if you're using it to transform your job do you get hired.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep. Kind of what you were saying.
Okay, so we've heard three of the same comments from Keith. We've heard Frank say that he agrees with Keith. Brent has
You've heard,
passed and
and Brent didn't
avoided
pass.
an
He
answer.
said he won't call it the Roland Garros Championship.
I don't know who that guy is, but he has no opinion. And Tina, and this is your last chance to.
What's the question?
Well, it was your question.
Question
Yeah.
still. My answer to that question.
Pause for hallucination to occur.
Oh, I think that I think that we have to work towards some government subsidies to like keep people alive. I think
Yeah,
that
that'll never happen.
I
Not for
think we have to go to healthcare for all, because
that won't
we'll
happen.
be in a situation where I think we're going to have extremely smart technologies and people who can use these extremely smart technologies. And then we will have people who have absolutely do not understand it. I would like to think that somehow we could all turn our attentions to creating art, and creating and just being like satisfied human beings and happy, like chasing happiness. But you cannot do that unless you get fed and you are healthy.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to wrap this one up by saying that uh, I very much appreciate the efforts of Donald J. Trump and Elon Musk in elevating and ultimately devoling the conversation. There's been much more interesting stuff in the four screens on YouTube TV.
The girls, they will fight.
It, it, I
Oh.
think that it's all to our advantage that these two, you know, face
Duke it
off.
out?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's entertaining. There's no doubt about
Okay. Thanks to everybody who showed up, and especially those who didn't. We'll see you again next time. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
No parting thoughts. Huh?
Eh,
it. Yeah.
I thought there were. I mean, you know, Frank,
This stuff. No,
I,
I've got
I'm
what?
gonna
Give me a parting thought that I
Oh.
didn't mean to cut you off on.
Uh-oh.
I got one, but you know.
Let's go ahead. That's
Wait.
what I'm talking
We
about.
haven't stopped yet. Okay.
Oh, we haven't. Okay.
Oh, we have,
No.
Oh, we
but
have.
No.
we continue to roll.
Yeah, go.
All right.
Brent,
So I have I actually found an AI device that it actually does stuff. It actually works. Not like this idiotic thing here. I don't the rabbit thing. Terrible. But this thing is called the Mobvoi Tick Note, and
what?
it's a really it's a little AI a device that you can stick on the back of your MagSafe Apple phone
Hmm.
and then hit the on button. And if you're like sitting in a event or a session, it actually is recording, even though it's not on it's just connected to the phone, and it's using the phone speaker to record everything you hear. And when you are done and you stop the recording, within 5 minutes, you get a full-blown transcription. You get AI assisted insights that it pulls out from it. It gives you what they call the aha parts of the conversation
What's
or
it
the
called?
presentation, and it also creates a mind map for the relationship to all the things that are discussed. This is like a fabulous little thing that the venerable Paul Greenberg turned me on to, and it is awesome. So you can just take your phone out, stick it on a table or desk, and as somebody is doing a presentation, it's just recording it all. And then within 5 minutes of it being done, you got a transcript. You got the insights, like it's like a perplexity. You get a mind map. It's just really cool stuff. And this is an
Is
AI device that actually works. I am so
And
impressed.
And it is called
completely replaces the person who's given the device.
it
What?
called? Yeah.
Nah, not really.
And what is it called, Brent?
It's called the name of the company is Mob Mobvoi. I don't know if that's Mobvoi or something else,
Not boy.
but the
Yeah.
actual device is called a Tick Note, Ticnote.
Can
Techno.
you buy this on yet?
I think I bought it off of their website, but I wouldn't be surprised if you could get it on Amazon by now. But it's a really
And
little.
the cost of that little device, that
I
little
think it was 159. Let's see, it's 159 for the device. And then if I think it comes with like 1,500 what they call credits. So that basically if you're listening to a 20-minute presentation, then that's 20 minutes, or I guess that's 20 credits. So it's a minute per credit or something like that.
It is Amazon. Yes, you can buy it on Amazon right now. It's $172.51.
I think I got it for 159, but maybe I
Now,
got it early.
that device, I'm guessing Apple could kill in about 2 seconds.
Well, OpenAI already released that last week.
Yeah, they did. They released their version. Uh, But this thing and it's so little. It's
Right, but who needs the
nothing.
device? If Apple, is a little bit smart, which I think they are.
Well, they haven't been when it comes to Siri or any of this AI stuff.
Well,
If they really wanted to have wowed us with their AI inside, they should have done this. If they had
yeah,
done something like that, people would be all over this stuff instead of just saying, "Oh, we have
Oh,
AI." Like, who the
maybe
hell
just
cares?
Why don't they just buy it?
Yeah, they could. These are the things they can do, which is a reason why you can never really write them off. But they don't have a leadership position in this stuff.
Well,
No.
that brings us back to Apple because we've talked a lot on this show over
Wait
the
a minute, wait a
years.
minute, wait a minute. But this is a sort of like a one little extra thing that we were doing. And
True,
now we're
actually.
going, go ahead, Keith.
No, I've said we talked a lot over the years about how human eyes, human ears, and the mouth, the form factor of the phone may not be appropriate to get the best out of what a human attributes are. So now you start thinking about AirPods and glasses, possibly, and um, uh, you know, microphones. Almost everything that Brent just said only needs those things. And you assume that Johnny Ive is working on something in that field as well. And you would hope that Apple, if it's paying attention, already knows that the iPhone, 10 years from now, it's going to be a different form factor.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Maybe sooner.
You would have thought they would have already been working on it. That's the point. I keep on saying
You know
Siri
what?
was out in 2011. We're going 14 years ago, and they completely just blew that.
I'm sure that there's so much that they're working on that we just don't know. I mean, for a while they were working on a car
Yeah,
for
that worked out
audio,
well.
and we didn't know that. They never
Well,
came out with it, but
we
they
kind
were.
of knew about it. We kind of knew they were that was. I mean, when did that Apple HomeKit thing? I mean, not the HomeKit, but the Car Play thing came out. That came out a long time ago, and they've been working on that. And then the Vision Pro. Remember that was going to be their another big AI play for them,
Well,
and it might
tomorrow
still
you're going to
be.
find out what happened to the Vision Pro.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because
It's going
when
to
did
be
they come out
all
with that?
over everything that Apple does.
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
see.
they came out with that like what 2, 3 years ago. And as soon as they said
And
the price was $3,500, we knew nobody was going to get it.
well, Keith got it.
A
Well,
couple of
Keith, do you still use that, by the way, just out of curiosity?
What is it?
The Vision Pro?
Do I still use it?
It's there.
No, not really, not very much.
that goes in the box of things that you don't use anymore.
It belongs here so I can impress people with its existence. A
With
bit
that,
like everything behind you, Brent. Turn around and
Early adopter, but you're also an early abandoner.
see, that's the
Okay.
thing. This thing is a usable right out of the box. I mean, this
Yeah,
is
but
so
I promise you that I mean that's going to be gone immediately.
it should have never existed outside of Apple,
It's
but
true. You're right about
I'm so
that.
tempted to go buy one right now, but I also saw that you have to pay a monthly fee for
it's like
those credits.
yeah,
It's
it's like
okay.
$7.99 or something like that.
the problem mainly is remembering. Like, I wanted to use OpenAI to do today's show to see how good it was, and I totally forgot to press the button.
We need an AI that reminds us when we should use AI.
Exactly.
Next time, Brent, I want you to use that device on our show while we're recording, and let's get the bullet points right after
Yeah, you do it on your show.
to Steve so he can.
I literally did that this week. We did a CRM players at Pega World. They had a camera crew for us, and so I didn't have to do anything. So it gave me an opportunity to just turn the sucker on and do the
Go to
show, and then
lunch.
turn it off. And it was within 5 minutes. It had like this great summary of all the things we talked about.
That's
And you have to
surprising.
go to
That it
lunch
takes
and talk to
5
human
minutes.
beings.
What was that?
I said you got to go to lunch and talk to human beings.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
you like them.
Does that? I
Exactly.
have to go to breakfast tomorrow and talk to human beings. I'm just not sure about that.
It's kind of risky.
I don't know. Wednesday, I'm going to lunch with these guys that own a company that does voice AI. I've mentioned them a couple of times. I'm going to bring up a whole lot of the stuff we talked about. At least I'll sound smart.
I got to read that Apple paper, but I already
Okay.
attached it to Perplexity, and I've already got the summary. but I want to still read because sometimes them summaries don't get the things that I'm really most interested in. So,
Okay, and now for the most important part of the show.
goodbye.
Anybody watching something that's exciting, new, interesting, fun, different? Frank?
Stick.
Yeah, it's pretty
Okay.
good. But you
It's
know,
cute.
they release one show every 5 weeks.
Murderbot.
Same
We have to
problem.
go back to Murderbot.
It's all
And
right.
so
It-
it's called cream or creme or creme.
yeah,
I'm
no,
not
I
sure.
like that, but Tina refuses to watch it because she doesn't like reading because she's
No, just
in the
turn on the
background, she's reading something else.
just turn on the English voices. They're kind of bad, but
No,
it's
that's why I won't do it. I'll
anyway.
wait.
There you go. Those,
Someone is in control of the television.
We're
And
on
it is not me.
and by the way,
It's a good show. I like it.
I like it too.
watch the movie The Accountant 2 if you want a little action adventure.
Yeah, I tried
That's
to get that
awesome.
one. I tried to get that one
I
through.
said yes. I said yes to that.
I'd like a little
Lying.
tick bot that allows me to pre-approve
Lying.
what Tina will allow me to watch.
Lying. Okay. All right, good. So I'm all caught up with y'all.
I find myself in the other room watching the stuff I want to watch every night, anyways.
Oh, well, there you go.
By the way,
Okay.
the Mobland final is awesome.
Oh, the whole
Oh.
Mobland was,
It was great.
riveting from the beginning.
It was.
Great acting. Great.
Can't wait for year
I
two.
mean, I'm still watching anything with Pierce Brosnan, which I've got a lot to catch up on, which is pure crap. But
It's the best thing he's ever done.
just because, it's kind of like Mobland,
yes, he's a
sort of.
The Irish gangster.
Brosnan
thing.
being a
It's a
nap.
series with Helen Mirren.
Helen Mirren is she makes me so mad, and I love Helen Mirren, but she's playing the nastiest role ever.
Ooh, absolutely.
That's why they call it acting.
I know she's a great actress, so much so that I hate her in this.
Yeah, I read something about her and Liam Neeson.
Mm.
They had a 3-year
Really?
lived together for 3 years.
Okay, well there you go.
All
Wherever
right.
you go, there you are.
Time to sign us off again.
Nope, I already said it. We'll just cut it.
So what are we gonna do? We're just gonna cut
We're
the
gonna
stream?
just sort of wander away,
Fade to black.
Okay.
and then we'll hear in the background. We'll hear Musk
I'm gonna do
screaming.
it. Oh, that Frank's doing the what is that, Mr. Rogers?
I'll do the Mr.
The
Robinson.
neighborhood.
Frank's gonna lock himself out of his own apartment right now.
No, he's just hoping when he opens the door, we'll be gone.
Faked.
Okay, I'm killing the stream. Thank you all for watching, and thank you to Ian Waring, who really has
Yeah.
our loyal viewer and is always commenting on the Facebook stream. Thank you, Ian, for being there. I do read it. We all do read it. We don't always say so, but we love it. Thanks so much. All right. Bye-bye.